Welcome to More Core. What is this? It's a little extra bonus stuff that we do for the Core podcast. We're just starting this to see if people like it. It's like a little experiment. If you like Core, if you're already listening to the show, then you kind of already know what the format of that is. And this is just like a little, video supplement kind of thing. So I don't want to over-explain it because I want to get straight to the content. But now you know what it is. We're going to do these on the regular, I think. We'll see how you guys respond to them. But I'm looking forward to it. Okay, on to the point of the whole discussion here. I recently went on vacation with a Steam Deck, my Steam Deck, and I love that device. I've talked about it a whole bunch already, and everyone's probably sick of me talking about it, but I thought it might be cool to let you guys know what my number one played game was on a 7-day vacation. It surprised me. It might surprise you. That game is Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, or in this case, Re-Reckoning. The original game came out in 2012 for the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, as well as the PC. Originally developed by Big Huge Games. Later on, they were purchased during development by 38 Studios. More on that later. And they then published this thing through Electronic Arts. You're probably familiar with the game. It came out kind of in the shadow of Skyrim, which is kind of a big shadow. You can't really escape its reach. So it was an RPG with a giant open world, and it said, hey, what if this was an alternative to that? And so that's what we were given in 2012. Oh, by the way, total side note, those you may have seen this when you saw the picture of my Steam Deck. What's up with the two joysticks? They're white. You're wondering, does that come stock with the Steam Deck? They don't. I actually bought those for $10 on Amazon. And it's a whole array of colors. And I just thought it'd be fun to mix things up. I think it's there for, trying not to wear out your thumbs or whatever, or wear out your sticks. But I got them just because I think they look cool. So anyway, that's what those are about. Back to the point. A little bit more history, as you may be aware. The rights to that game lapsed, and they ended up getting picked up or purchased by THQ Nordic, which then released a version of the game called Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, which is a remaster of the game, some up-res textures, 4K support, that sort of thing. That happened in March of 2021. They bought it back on September 6th of 2018. They also announced in early December 2021 it was going to have a third DLC expansion called Fates Worn, just shy of the original game's 10-year anniversary, which is kind of crazy to think about. There's a lot of controversy around this game, or at least there was at the time. Big Huge Games, who you may know from other titles like Rise of Nations, fantastic RTS that they built prior to this game. This is a game they were working on for a very long time, very ambitious, very big open world, story-driven RPG, a lot of action as well. Bought as kind of a stopgap opportunity for 38 Studios, founded by Kurt Schilling, former baseball player. And the idea was this was going to fit in the middle somewhere, or kind of be a prequel to their upcoming Project Copernicus game, which was a big, sprawling MMO to compete with the likes of World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy and so on. This was their plan. And so they inserted a bunch of story and some other stuff into the existing game that was already being built when they made this purchase. And they built the game out to be lore specific to what they had coming down the road. And it turns out it would be not only the only thing 38 Studios would ever publish, because some very wild, crazy, sort of crashy things happened right after this, but it would also be a really good game that stands on its own. And despite all of the cloud of controversy around its acquisition, its publishing, the later dying of the company, and the shutting down of Big Huge Games, all of that's sad and horrible, the game itself holds up. It's a very, very good game. Now, jump ahead, and you may say, well, Scott, why are you playing this PS3 360 era game on a Steam Deck, which is capable of so much more? I could be playing, Cyberpunk or something with lots more graphics going on. Control's a good example. That game really showcases well on the device. And the reason that I chose to play this was, number one, I feel like the PS3's 360 era games are wildly good on the Steam Deck. It's a weird thing to see that particular generation run so well here and be so ready for it. I think part of it is the interfaces, UI elements were larger, so stuff's easier to read on screen. I don't know why that was. I guess we had smaller TVs back when we were playing 360 games. Also, they are older, so they run flawlessly. Even though this is a remaster, they didn't do that much to it, and it runs just beautifully without any issues or slowdown. And I also think there was a certain kind of equilibrium of complexity and simplicity back then. Games today, or a lot of new games today, vastly more complicated in terms of mechanics, UI elements, that sort of stuff. And these had a more simple approach to some of that, but also enough compelling depth to the gameplay that it's just a nice mix. I'm not saying this is the peak of gaming, this era, but I am saying that there was a lot of really good stuff then that I think is worth rediscovering now. And this is the perfect device to rediscover it on. Of course, you can totally play this wonderfully on your PC as it is, so you don't have to have a Steam Deck to play it. I'm just saying, for whatever reason, shrunken down to that format, to that size, to that kind of portability, it turns out Kingdoms of Amalur is an amazing game for that device, and I ended up playing that way more than my newer stuff or more reliable go-tos. I just usually would log in and play that game. Aside from all of that, pull the camera out a bit, and we're talking about a game that still looks great, is a big, giant, sprawling RPG worth playing. Even if you skip all the story stuff and just go for the mechanics, they're all there. People are dropping randomized loot. You're picking up loot at a really constant pace. It reminds me of Diablo a little bit in that way. And you're acquiring new loot that's better than what you had before. So that grind is there, and it feels good. Numbers are going up. Arrows are pointing up, that sort of thing. But I also think the story's really good. The voice acting's very good. Put a pair of headphones, and you'll escape into this world. And again, just feels weirdly perfectly scaled to this screen, more than other games I've tried on there from that era. So that's it. My number one Steam Deck old game that plays like new is Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning. Or Reckoning. I actually haven't tried the Reckoning version, the previous version of the game, which I think if you have it on Steam, you automatically got the upgrade. I'm not actually sure about any of that, so don't take my word on it. But that may play fine as well. But Re-Reckoning can be found on sale quite a bit. They did a really good job, I think, bringing this to modern standards, and you'll have a great time with it. It's really fun. Really, really good time. When you check for Steam Deck compatibility on it, it does say that it requires a little bit of text input using the touchscreen and stuff on the device. And that is true, but only in a couple of cases. Like if you want to craft an item, craft a sword, you had an option in that game to name your sword. So you could name your sword Scott's Rad Sword. And to do that, you just have to do a little messing around with the system to get the keyboard up and do that. It's not a big deal. Everything else, very readable, very fast, very compatible, no weird middle layer launcher page stuff. None of that stuff that sometimes plagues these releases on this device. It's just a real good, cool time. So go check it out. In the meantime, if you haven't heard of Core before, and this is like your first time, like, wait a minute, what is this Core business? Core is a podcast that we record every week on Thursdays. You can watch it live at 5 p.m. Mountain Time at frogpants.tv. We do it live every week, or you can check the podcast out wherever you get your podcast. And if you're still like, where do I go for any of this? You can find this and links to all of it at frogpants.com/core. We'll see you next time.
That will do quite. The finest quality on. That will do. A sword? Ask the harpy over there. I've got armor, and the wife's got. Good then. The finest quality. A sword? Ask the harpy. That will do. Yes, that helps. The finest. A sword? Yes. A sword. That will do.